Hey, good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark Hamlin here, and today I'm going to take you through some of the manufacturing solutions we have for Business Central, specifically focusing on, the shop floor data collection, right? So some of the execution capabilities that we have within Business Central. So within our sort of portfolio or list of applications, these are some of the key ones that we have for that shop floor execution and manufacturing management. So we start with that enhanced planning pack. So a couple of the components are the enhanced planning worksheet I mentioned earlier, and enhanced forecasting worksheet, which allow you to do forecasting and planning. But the full planning pack gives you some analysis tools. So you can check your actuals versus expected. You can do routing analyses. You can do production variance reports, all of those sorts of things with a high degree of detail. So very worth having. At any rate, we start here with the planning. Once we planned it, we send it out to be scheduled, right? So we've got our production orders that we need to execute. How do we schedule those in the shop? Well, we've got the free graphical scheduler, drag and drop tool, and we've got the full APS solution as well. So APS is advanced planning and scheduling. I like to call it automated production scheduling because that's what it does. Runs every day at 7 a.m. or whatever you like and generates a schedule that you can actually execute in the shop floor, or you can manually go in there, click a button, and you've got a schedule. And it looks at constraints like your capacity, your labor, your material, your tooling, all of those sorts of things to generate a realistic schedule that you can actually execute. So it's the simplest solution out there for scheduling because we're eliminating all the need for dragging and dropping and making manual decisions about the schedule. It does it for you. At any rate, once we've planned it, we've scheduled it, we now have to do the execution. We have to send it out to the shop and get it worked on. And that's where Shop Floor Insight comes into play, because there we're going to capture our labor times, our consumption, our output, our quality information. We're going to present the information that the workers need to perform their jobs, all through that Shop Floor Insight interface. And a couple other solutions here for sort of the execution side as well, and the planning side. We've got a maintenance manager solution, which allows you to do asset maintenance on your production assets. And that feeds into the schedule as well and allows you to, capture time and everything against your maintenance within Shop Floor Insight. And the other one is our Quality Inspector application, which integrates with Shop Floor Insight for capturing production quality, inbound receipts, outbound inspection checklists, whatever you want to do quality on, we can handle as well. But really the nexus here is that Shop Floor Insight, where we're capturing what's going on in the shop floor. And then once we've captured it, we feed that back into the schedule, whether it's the graphical scheduler or the full APS, so that the next time we run the schedule, we know exactly what's being done and we can generate a schedule for what's remaining and everything else. Okay, so plan it, schedule it, execute it. Once we're done, we're going to send it out to our fulfillment tools to get that done. So we've got an order fulfillment worksheet that helps you automate pick generation and things like that. We've got our warehouse management solutions, both the free version, which is WMS Express, and the full Warehouse Insight version to allow you to use barcoding for picking, shipping, all those sorts of things. And then, of course, our shipping solutions. We have a free version called Order Ship Express for domestic parcel shipping. And we've got the full dynamic ship here for everything, international shipping, LTL, parcel, whatever you want to do. Anything you need to do for shipping within Business Central, we've got that covered with Dynamic Ship. All right, so that's sort of the lay of the land from a manufacturing perspective, planning, scheduling, execution, fulfillment, all of that's handled. We've got solutions for all of those things. Let's talk about the Shop Floor Insight in more detail specifically. So we're going to demo some of these in a moment, but there's a lot there, and I'm not going to get through all of it. So some of the things that we likely won't look at are things like the time and attendance portion, right? So we do have a time clock interface within Shop Floor as well that you can use, and we can capture those time and attendance events, like when the people clock in for the day, when they clock out, their breaks, all of those sorts of things. We can summarize that information and send it to your payroll system, right? And with that, we've got the light shift scheduling where you can schedule, this person's on days for this week and they're on evenings next week and so on and so forth. So we can manage all of that. And that's payroll calculations. That's really just overtime, double time type calculations. So when we summarize that information, we can apply overtime and double time rules and then send that out as a file to your payroll system So you eliminate all of that manual entry from the payroll perspective. Now, the time and attendance portion, it's there, it's built in, it's optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want. The rest of this stuff is really the manufacturing side of it. Where typically we're relying on barcoded data collection, right? We're going to scan barcodes to capture our data, but we do have touchscreen interfaces as well. You can use it on a mobile device like a phone, a tablet, whatever you like. So we've got that as well. So we've got several different user interfaces you can use with Shop Floor Insight. We're going to look at a couple of them today. So a whole bunch of goodies in there. I'm not going to read them all off, but we can capture a ton of information through the Shop Floor interface. Now, how do you actually do that in the real world? Well, the hardware that you would typically use, again, you can use mobile devices. So each person can have their own tablet or own phone. In some environments, that makes sense. In others, they're going to lose that mobile device in their toolbox, or it's going to fall behind a machine or whatever, and it's no good. So quite often, Shop Floor Insight is deployed as a fixed terminal. So out there somewhere in the shop, you're going to have a whole bunch of terminals, basically, desktop PCs or Chromebooks or tablets or whatever, where people are going to walk up to that fixed terminal and capture the information they need to capture. Now, you could have a fixed terminal per machine if you want. We don't charge by the number of terminals you have. We charge by the number of employees using them. So you could have 100 screens out there, and it's really not going to cost you any more than if you have one screen. And the one that is quite popular lately is the Chromebook. And the reason is, it's got no moving parts. So if you're in a dusty environment, it's not going to, suck dust into the thing and overheat and all that. It doesn't need to be sprayed out once in a while. It's got the keyboard and the touchpad, and you can put a mouse on it and the screen all in one little thing. And they're like $150 or whatever, right? Or whatever you want to spend on those. So those are pretty common, but you could use anything you like. Maybe you got a bunch of old Windows 10 laptops that you can't use anymore or something. Throw them out there and away you go. These terminals do not have to be on your domain or anything like that. As long as they have a connection, at least one connection to a terminal with an internet connection, you're good. So these guys out here on the shop floor, they don't even need an internet connection necessarily to work. So you've got that security capability as well, where they can only have access to the local network, no internet whatsoever. So you don't have your night shift guys going out there and looking at questionable things on these terminals. It's all very locked down and secure. All right, and this is an example now. This particular station, this picture or this terminal was implemented like that, I think in like 2009. So this is like 16 years old, and what they've got, they've fabbed a case for it. They've got a screen there. They've got a barcode scanner. They've got this. This is a thin client little terminal here, and they've got, a laminated sheet for some standard barcodes that they want to scan. So employees will walk up with their production order, they'll scan that, or if they're scanning a fixed asset or work center or something like that, or, non-productive code, they've just got this laminated sheet to scan off. So, this is a good example of something that you might have out there. A lot of people, they'll just throw, like I said, a Chromebook or a tablet out on the desk and away you go. Okay. All right. Now, that was one interface. The other one is, again, the personal device interface. And so this could be a tablet, phone, handheld scanner, those sorts of things. I'll show you this in a bit. And this just lets you swipe on, swipe off. So if you want to have people walking around with one of these or have it mounted on a wall somewhere, they could use that to, essentially perform the same activities just on a touchscreen mobile style device. And then we have another interface. If you're running our Warehouse Insight solution, you can also run Shop Floor within the Warehouse Insight solution as well. So if you're interested in that, let us know. And you can run, a tablet or a scanner or whatever, and you can run Shop Floor Insight within the Warehouse Insight solution as well. So a whole bunch of different interfaces and capabilities for how you capture the data from the shop floor. All right. Now, if you're on Business Central Cloud, one quick thing to note, I mentioned that, those shop terminals don't need internet access. Well, you need at least one computer in your environment that does have internet access that's going to connect to Business Central. So you need a local install. So you need one Windows machine, can be an old laptop, can be an existing server. It can be whatever you like. It can be one of the shop terminals that does have that internet access. It's going to have a local service installed there. All the shop terminals talk to that one guy. He talks to Business Central. And that's, again, how you can limit the internet access for the terminals, how you manage security centrally, all those sorts of things. It's really a big advantage for how we talk to Business Central. But again, you do need a local machine, old laptop, whatever you have lying around, that can run that service to communicate to Business Central. All right. Now, before we get into the demo, one last little thing here. These are the types of barcodes I'm going to be scanning in the demo. I'll show you touch screen as well, but we've got, these what we call employee badges, right? And this is generated from Business Central, so you can, you'll have your company logo on there or whatever. It's just a standard Business Central report. All we really care about is this barcode. So if you have existing employee badges, like ID cards or whatever, you just put the barcode on there and away you go. If your employees have door access cards, right, for entering the facility, you could actually use those. We can integrate with those. You just need a reader on the terminals, and they could use the door access cards to identify themselves at the terminal. Otherwise, you print these guys out, stick them in a clip-on badge holder, and the employees have what they need to clock in. Now, over here is a portion of production order. And what we've got is barcode for the setup time, barcode for the runtime, and this is what the employees are going to be scanning to track their time against production orders. Right? So that's basically the types of barcodes I'll be scanning here in a moment. All right, with that, let's jump in and see how this stuff works. So I'm going to jump into Business Central here. And the first thing I'm going to go through is a little bit on the graphical scheduler. Right? So the graphical scheduler allows us to visualize, what production orders are out there. And that plays into MES a bit, right? Because, during execution, we might have a machine go down, we might need to reorganize things, and we want to sort of drag and drop and move those production orders around. And for that, the graphical scheduler is a nice free tool. Shop Floor Insight also has a bit of a graphical scheduler built into it on the shop floor, just for visualizing, the work that's coming up at a specific work center, machine center, but it doesn't really allow you to do drag and drop and those sorts of things. So from within Business Central, you can fire up this graphical scheduler. Take a sec to load the first time here, but we do have some other videos online and things like that to talk about the graphical scheduler. But what I'm going to do is I've got these sort of quick, presets up here, which you can come in and you can set your own presets to show up in the right-click menu or the top here to quickly, sort of zoom in to what you want to look at. I'm just going to go back a couple months because that's where I've got some production orders. But what this is showing us, now I've tailored this view a little bit for myself. I've added in the workload up at the top here, and I've set some color rules. All of that is completely configurable by you. You can go into the views here. You can create your own views, set your own colors, all of those sorts of things, so that you can display the information that you want to see it. Like these guys I've turned gray. If it's operation 20, I just made them gray as an example. You can show machine downtime on here. You can show working hours. You can do all that sort of thing. It's all fully configurable. But here I've got a bunch of production orders, and I'm coming in and I'm zoomed into sort of a 3-month period. If I want to look at a specific range of dates and times, like around this production order, I can just click and say zoom to document. And now I've zoomed into that, sort of 1-day period here where I can see everything related to that particular production order. And so you can go ahead and click on these guys and see all the details. And again, this allows you to drag and drop those production orders. So I could take this guy and I can move him over to a different time, different machine, whatever, and it's going to reschedule that production order for me automatically. So all that's doing is using the built-in Business Central scheduling capabilities. So it's the same as if I opened up that production order and just changed the date and time on that routing. That's what it's doing when we reschedule this. So it's not doing any finite capacity scheduling or anything else. When I move this guy over, it's just basically the same as if I went into the routing and changed that date and time. But a very valuable tool, right? I can come in here and see exactly what needs to be done on this particular machine. Am I overloaded, right? I've got my loading percentage there, all of that kind of stuff. And I can move things around as required to show what's going on. And if there is downtime, again, I can show downtime, like I can register an absence within Business Central to show that downtime if something happened. All of those sorts of things are available within this graphical scheduler, right? So that's the first part. We run MPS MRP through our enhanced planning worksheet because it's free and it's cool. You've got your production orders. You send it out to the scheduler here, and you can move things around, adjust what's going on within that. Lots of tools here for, getting to the information you need quickly, and away you go. So that's a graphical scheduler in a nutshell. And there's, again, online videos and things like that, and upcoming webinars, so you can attend to see more detail on this. Now, of course, once we've got that scheduled, we've got all those production orders in play, and I'm just going to open one up here, and we're just going to print out a, we'll just do this guy here. Oh, whatever, we'll do this guy. So I'll just open up one of these production orders. I've already shown you, in the PowerPoint, but we just have a quick look at what you might want to put out. If you're still doing paper-based, travelers that you're sending out to the shop floor, you may want to still print out the production order job card that has the barcodes and everything you need on it for printing. I'm just going to choose a different guy because it was a bad one the first time. But this is what you would get. You get those barcodes that I pointed out in the presentation. We've only got one barcode to scan. That's all we scan. We scan this barcode, and it's going to start recording the runtime, in this case, for this operation on this production order with this line number, and that's it. So it's that one beat. If you're not doing paper-based, production, like you want to go paperless out on the shop floor, you can do that as well. You just don't need to print that out, and I'll show you how that works. While I'm here, I'll just mention this link here. I added that in a previous demo. So this is, an external link, but this is where we could have links to your drawings and all sorts of things at the production order level. This particular item also has assembly diagrams and everything linked at the item level. So as we get in, we'll sort of see how that works. All right, so that's kind of the base setup, right? We've got our production orders. We've scheduled with the graphical scheduler, or maybe we've used MX APS, and now we've put out paper on the shop floor, or we've just got a dispatch list of our schedule out on the shop floor. We now need to actually execute. So for that, we're going to go into Shop Floor Insight here. And this is the terminal-based version of Shop Floor Insight, where we've got that fixed terminal. This is just running a web browser that we're going to use to, actually track the time for the people in the shop. Okay. And again, this can be barcoded or paperless. Even if you go paperless, I still recommend, having a badge to scan to unlock the terminal instead of typing in a user ID or use a door access card or whatever. And so as an employee, I'm going to walk up to this terminal, and this could be a dedicated terminal for my particular workstation, or it could be something that's shared between 50 people, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to walk up, I'm going to scan my badge. And what it's doing right now, the first time I do this, it's busy logging into Business Central. So what it's doing, again, it's communicating with that, sort of central service that's logged into Business Central, and it's brought back all this information from Business Central, which is nothing because this is the first time I've clocked in for today, and we haven't, done anything yet. So everything's blank, right? So the next thing I would do is actually tell the system what I'm working on. So for that, I'm going to scan one of those barcodes, and it's going to go in, and it now says, okay, you're working on this production order, this line number, this operation, and we've clocked in, and we're about to start manufacturing on this. Or this person has indicated this is what they're working on now. And that's it. And we'll talk about this other stuff in a second. But that's all I have to do. It's beep, beep, and off I go, right? Now, if this was a dedicated terminal at my machine, I wouldn't have to log out or anything. You'd have this set to stay unlocked all day, or you can set it to timeout after 30 seconds or whatever you like. But for me, it's a shared terminal, so I'm just going to, scan my badge again to lock the screen. So somebody else doesn't see my stuff. They can come up behind me and do their thing. So that's all I did. I identified myself. I told the system what I'm working on. I go do my work. I come back an hour later. I unlock the terminal, and I scan the next activity that I'm working on. And in this case, I'm going to do some cleanup. This is a non-productive code. This is not something that goes to a production order or a job or anything else. This is just saying I'm doing some cleanup that's unrelated to anything else, and we can track those non-productive codes and non-productive times, right? So you can come in here, and again, if you're using a touch screen instead of a barcode scanner, you can tap on this and choose what you're actually working on. So you can define all of these codes yourself, and they can be anything you like. You don't have to go to that level of detail if you don't want, but it adds a lot of value. It's really easy on the employees because they're just going beep and it automatically clocked me off my prior activity, started my next one. So it's easy to do, and you get that wealth of information. Now I can actually go and do reports on, my productive time versus my non-productive time. I can see, maybe we had, first aid or something like that in here, or whatever things you want to track, and you've got that capability to do it. And as I said, it clocked me off this prior activity. Now this is in hours. You can have it minutes or days or seconds or whatever you like. It has calculated that elapsed time in hours. Now some of you may have the questions, well, what if I have an operator working on two things simultaneously, which is pretty common, right? I have a machinist, or they're running two CNC machines or two lathes or whatever. No problem. We can do it a few different ways. One is you can have somebody clocked onto multiple activities simultaneously, and they manage those independently. They clock in and out of each of those activities independently. Or we can have batching, where if I am doing multiple production orders simultaneously and they kind of predominantly start and finish, at the same time, I can clock into a batch. So I'd scan, hey, I'm doing these 20 production orders right now in the paint booth, or I'm doing a sawing operation that takes a couple of minutes a piece. I'm not going to clock in and out every 2 minutes. I scan those production orders as a batch, and I do my work for an hour, and at the end, I clock off that batch with one scan or one tap here, and it automatically splits the time proportionally across all of those production orders. So great for things like laser cutters or dip tanks or paint booths or sawing operations, things like that, where I've got multiple production orders being worked on simultaneously. Okay. And the flip side to that is I can also have multiple people clock into the same activity at the same time as well. So, this thing has been around for quite a few years. We've dealt with most of the, I would say, I won't say all of the scenarios that you could run into on the shop floor, because everybody does things differently and we're always surprised. But, at least 99% of the scenarios that you may have out on the shop floor for how you work and how you need to capture that information, we've dealt with and we can handle. Okay, so that was it, right? I went beep, beep, and I'm capturing my time and I'm off to the races. Now, let's say you don't have those barcodes to scan, right? You don't have that traveler. I'm just going to clock in here. Again, scanning the employee badge is kind of handy because it's easy, but I could type in my ID instead of scanning, or you could use the door access card or whatever else. And when I clocked in here as Linda Martin, she doesn't see that time card to start with by default. What she sees is a dispatch list. So this is all the work that's coming up in her particular area for the next day or hour or week or whatever you want to set that filter to in Business Central, because all of this information is coming from Business Central in real time. So she just sees what's coming up at her station, and she can just tap on one of these and start that work, right? And she's got a different user interface here as well. That user interface can be tailored by employee or by employee group or whatever you want to do. But, she doesn't see all the bills of material, all those other things that were there on the previous one. She just sees, a picture of what she's supposed to be working on. And, oh, there's one with a picture. And that's all she sees. Once she's tapped on the one she wants, she just hits clock on. And you've now got a paperless option for this instead of, doing barcode scanning if you want. Okay, so, and this can run on a tablet, like can't be iOS, Safari doesn't support it, but Android or Windows tablet, you can run this on, or like I said, a touchscreen Chromebook or whatever you like, and you can do that without scanning barcodes. I personally like barcodes. Most people still have, paper travelers that they send out on the shop floor and things like that, because as the whip is moving through, they can leave that piece of paper on the pallet or whatever, so they know what the heck's going on. But let's go back to my system here. And when I come back in, it collapses at anything that's complete. This is outstanding. Let's go back to, this production order here and talk a little bit about some of the other things that you see on the screen. So all these are made visible or hidden from this view menu. So I've got a few things that are visible here. The first one, the bill of materials. So this can just be informational. This is what the BOM I need for this operation. But I can also do consumption from shop floor as well. So if I want to do point of use consumption to record the material I've actually used at this operation, I can actually go in here and enter that. And this is also useful, even if you're doing back flushing, we could go in there and you could use it to record scrap and things like that. It's mostly used if I have specific lot numbers and serial numbers I want to record, right? So I've got, somebody's picked a bunch of product for me and left it in production. I grab something and I want to record the serial number or the lot number of the item that I'm specifically using. This is a good spot for it, especially if you have barcodes on them. I can just scan that lot number or serial number to record that information here, or I can just come in and enter the quantities and away I go. So we can do that consumption from shop floor as well. And we can also do output. So the output allows me to, I've done a whole bunch of output over the time. I've been demoing this, but you can come in here. All of this sort of defaults in from the production order, but I can specify the quantity of output. And if it's a lot or serial tracked item, I can also specify the lot numbers and serial numbers here optionally as well, which allows us to do things like if you're setting up serial number tags or, have a lot number with a Julian date or something like that, that can all be generated and included in the output from here as well. Okay, so we can do consumption and output from within shop floor. Down below, as I'm executing this, we've got these work instructions. Right, so in this work instructions, you can write a book in there if you like. We can also put statistics about elapsed time and all sorts of things within this work instructions view here. But this gives the employees, some information about what they're supposed to be doing. Now, if the work instructions, aren't sufficient to provide the detail they need, we've also got those links. So this is that Google link that I showed you on the production order, which if I click that, it's just going to take me to Google. But I've also got this assembly diagram. And this assembly diagram here is actually on a local file share, but that could be in SharePoint or somewhere else. And of course, when I tap that, it's going to open up on my other screen here, but it's going to open up the assembly diagram for me to review and everything else. So you can get away with maybe without printing your assembly diagrams or your drawings or whatever, because you can link them to the item and review them here directly from shop floor. Okay, so there's a lot you can do here, right? And a few other things. You've got comments and all that kind of stuff. I showed you the dispatch list. You can jump into that anytime to search for production orders, right? You can come in here and search by description or production order number or whatever you like to, select a production order you want to use and either output directly from here, which will clock us in immediately. A whole bunch of different ways you can use it. And that production schedule view that I mentioned earlier that allows us to sort of visualize. I haven't used this in a while, so it's going to, not have good data. But anyway, this would visualize that production schedule here as well. So you can use this to sort of see what's coming up at the different work centers, if you like, as well. So that's kind of the view on this. Now, one other thing, we've got a few questions coming in. I'll answer those in a sec. One other thing while I'm here is actually two other things. Is quality inspections. Now, you'll have to excuse me. I've got kind of an interesting quality inspection here for welding a side plate. But these quality inspections, these are coming through our quality inspector module. And you can set up different quality inspections based on your operation, based on your item, based on your work center, based on whatever you like. And the quality inspection from a shop floor perspective, it's really just an additional data entry screen where you can go in and I can record the results of this quality inspection and enter all this information that it's requesting here, on the screen here within shop floor. Now, I said excuse what I had because I actually created a quality inspection for foods and I applied it to a welding operation. That's not going to be typical. Like we're probably not going to check for E. coli in welding, but the general idea is I can come in and create whatever quality inspection I need here, and I can record that information from the operator here at this particular operation, or when I do output, it can also prompt me for all that measurement information you might need. With a quality inspector, you can also have a QC person walking around with a tablet entering that information, or it could go into a lab where they enter it directly into Business Central or whatever you like there as well. Okay, so that's the quality inspection side. The other thing I'll mention here, speaking of quality, let's say I did this work up here already. If you recall, up here I was doing that same production order, welding the side plates. Well, I went to the next station, the assembly station, and they said this doesn't fit, and they gave it back to me, and I have to redo that work, right? So now I still want to record my time against that operation and production order and everything else, because this is what I'm doing. I'm welding the side plates, but I want to record that time as sort of exception time. It's not standard production time. I'm doing this because something went wrong, right? Like the drawing was incorrect or whatever. So what I can do here is I can simply scan a barcode or choose it from the drop down up at the top here. And I can record this time as rework time and blame somebody for that. You know what? And I'm going to blame, well, since I said it was, maybe the drawing or something, I'm going to blame engineering. They gave me the wrong drawing, so I welded it wrong. Or maybe it was sales. They sold something that's not possible. So this is what we call a rework code. So this is my rework code, and this is my root cause, right? So now, as the person doing this work, I'm taking extra time to do this, and somebody's going to notice I spent 2 hours on this instead of an hour. I'm going to blame somebody else for my extra work. I'm blaming sales in this case. So the employees on the shop floor will do this. They will actually code their time appropriately to indicate where that extra time is coming from, and that's hugely important. Rework is very expensive. If I've got an hour of rework on this, that's probably costing at least 3 hours of time, right? The hour of time it took me to do it initially improperly, the hour of rework time I'm doing, the hour of lost productivity, I could have been doing something else, all the QC time, NCRs, all that other kind of stuff. Rework is very expensive, and you may not have an accurate way of recording that today. This gives that capability to you. Now, and what I'm talking about here is the in-process rework, right? Where I've done this, I pass it off to somebody else, I hand it back and say, fix it. Obviously, there's other ways of doing rework, like you can create new, operations within the routing. You can create a whole new production order for finished goods rework, things like that. But for in-process rework, this is ideal. And that's often where you're lacking visibility, right? Because there is no necessarily a formal process. I did this, I handed it to Joe. He's like, this sucks, hands it back to me. I fix it. How do you account for that time today? You probably don't. This gives you the ability to account for it and figure out what you need to focus your time on to address those issues. All right, so enough about rework, but it's one of the ways that, shop floor very quickly pays for itself. Okay, now, before I get into the questions here, I'll show you one last thing. I'm going to bring up, this handheld scanner that I have in my hand. This is effectively a phone-style device. It happens to be a scanner, a Honeywell CT47. But this is the mobile interface. So it just runs in the Business Central application, and it gives me the ability to run shop floor within that mobile app. So this gives us, sort of the general overview of this person's, time entry. And then I can go in and I can look at the time card. So this is what I'm currently working on. And I can open that up. So if I tap that, I've got all the details. I can clock off this activity. I can come in. I can see all the things that we saw on the big screen here, like the work instructions, bill of materials, all of those sorts of things are there available for me on this interface. And if I go back, I can also see all the production orders. This is my dispatch list. So this is the equivalent of this dispatch list that we see in the big environment. And I can come in, I can see, this is what I'm clocked in on. It's on bold. If I want to clock in on something else, I can just, swipe or tap and open it up and clock into, a different activity and those sorts of things. I didn't scan all the way across, so it didn't swipe all the way across. So I just tap it on and tap that clock on. So it works exactly the same way. Now, if I go to my time card, we've clocked out of this and we've clocked into this guy, and away I go. So we can handle jobs just like we can in the full interface. We can handle jobs, production orders, and everything, and non-productive time on this mobile interface. And of course, this runs on a tablet or a phone. It's just the Business Central app. So this gives you that ability to have mobile time entry as well as these fixed terminals. And the last one I mentioned is that Warehouse Insight interface, where if you're running Warehouse Insight, you can actually run Shop Floor Insight within Warehouse Insight as well, which gives you that mobile interface for tablets and touchscreens and everything else, but is also combined with all your material handling capabilities like picking and receiving and all those sorts of things as well. Okay, so those are some of the interfaces that we have available from within Shop Floor Insight. Okay, so a few questions. There's a question on the links on the production orders. So these links that I talked about earlier, where you can have this links fact box. This fact box is standard within Business Central. You just have to go into personalization and add it. If you want to drag and drop into a production order, that is custom right now, unfortunately. Business Central 26 does have the documents list on the production order that may or may not work properly, but if you want to drag and drop using Doc Extender into the links here, we've got a knowledge base article that shows you how to do that, and you can now drag and drop onto the production order. The other document that you saw on that on the shop floor interface, which was the assembly diagram, that was actually linked directly to the item itself. So if I open up that item, we go to attachments here, and you see there's that assembly diagram that we link to, and it's not on SharePoint, it's local. But if you're using Doc Extender, I can drag and drop those diagrams, whatever documentation you want, onto this, and it'll store it as a link to SharePoint that makes it available in the shop floor interface. Okay, so those are, again, we link at the item level and at the production order level. If you're using jobs, like if you're an engineer to order or something like that and using jobs regularly, we do support jobs as well. And it's, well, actually, I can show you that. We support job consumption, tracking time against jobs, links against jobs, all of those sorts of things. We don't have the, in the shop floor interface, we don't have quality inspections for jobs. But you can still do quality inspections for jobs using Quality Inspector. We just don't expose it currently in the shop floor interface. But for a job, it's basically the same thing. I just go into the job dispatch list here just to see a list of the jobs available to me. And so I can come in here, search or whatever. And again, I could just scan a barcode on this if I wanted, instead of choosing it from the list. I can choose this and clock on and record time against jobs as well. So I've got, in this particular one, I've got production orders, I've got non-productive time, I've got a job, and I can even record time against fixed assets as well if I want. So let's say I'm doing some fixed asset maintenance and you're not running our maintenance manager product, I could come in here and record time against fixed assets as well. Now, speaking of maintenance, let's just have a quick look at that. I'm going to clock in here as somebody else. So now I've got a mechanic or somebody walking around, and they're going to come up to this terminal. They're going to identify themselves. Now it's a millwright or a mechanic or somebody. When they clock in, they see all the maintenance activities that they need to perform today, right? So we've got a break fix here that's explicitly assigned to this person. That's what I'm clocked in as. And we've got some other things that need to be done. And so from here, again, they can use a touch screen to come in. And if you look at this particular one, we've got, all the maintenance requirements here. And all of this is coming from our maintenance manager application, right? And we've got the guides linked here and a picture of the asset and everything else. And they can clock in and start that work on it. Or again, you can scan barcodes just like you did. They have a maintenance work order that they use, and they come in, they scan the barcode for it, and now they've got everything that they need to perform that weekly laser cutter maintenance. They've got the instructions, they've got the guides, they've got the image, they've got everything they need. And this is all coming through a maintenance manager product. Okay, so you've got a couple of choices there for maintenance. Again, you could just record time directly against a fixed asset. It doesn't really go anywhere, but you've got that time that you could use to record maintenance and things like that. Or you could use our maintenance manager product to do it as well. Quick comment on cost. It's based on employee. So based on the number of employees, if you have, I can't remember the threshold, but it goes down to as low as $290 a month, up to $7 a month per employee. Those don't need Business Central licenses. That's just a straight cost by employee. There's no Business Central license involved. The terminals, typically it's going to be a device license. So each terminal that you have, you need a Microsoft license for that terminal, and it is concurrent. So if I have 10 terminals out there, but only 2 are ever used simultaneously, I would need 2 of those licenses from Microsoft. The alternative is maybe you have 100 terminals out there and 50 people. You might be better off buying team member licenses for them, and then you can use those instead. Okay. Implementation. The project time frame is typically 4 to 6 weeks to get it implemented. I mean, you can implement it in a day and be live in a day, in the simplest case. But typically, there's testing, there's training, there's rolling it out, there's all sorts of things involved. So it's usually 4 to 6 weeks. And we have a fixed price project available for that. It's not very expensive. We'll do the setup, the training, the UAT support, the ongoing support for it, all at that fixed price. And those terminals, like I said, the Chromebook with a barcode scanner is going to be $300, and then you've got it, or a tablet or whatever you want to use. Okay. Now, once you figured out what the cost is going to be based on the number of employees and terminals and everything else, you can go to our website. We've got a return on investment calculator, or we can send you a spreadsheet version. You plug in all your details, and it's going to spit out an expected payback period. And that payback period is very good. It's usually a few months, and you've paid for that software, right? So the first few months of the year, you'll have saved enough to have paid for the entire year's subscription of Shopfloor Insight. It's one of the best, sort of manufacturing or IT investments you can make from a return on investment perspective. All right. Now, if you do have additional questions, go to shopfloorfordynamics.com or our website. Contact your partner if they're one of our resellers. If they can help, come to us directly. We're happy to help you out and get you moving with it. All right. With that, thanks, everyone. I kept you an extra 15 minutes, but hopefully that was worthwhile, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and remember to hit that bell icon to stay updated. See you in the next video.